Good evening, Professor Sam. Shall we start? I think students are joining in, and we have students will
Yes.
more join in between the session as well. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, friends. Good evening, faculty members. Today we have Professor Sam from Africa, and he's going to take the sessions on Centric. And over to you, Professor Sam.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. It's a beautiful day, and I'm looking forward to a beautiful conversation. So my name is Sam, and I'm reaching you from West Africa. I'm reaching you from the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. I want to know about you, and I will be sharing some very beautiful thoughts about community-centric strategies to business. So thank you for having me. Let me quickly share my screen and we'll start. So a little background. I am a passionate person about business communities. I love to talk about brand communities. I understand I'm talking to MBA students. I also want to welcome members of my community across Africa, business owners who work with me in Africa. So today, we're going to be talking about how art initiatives can influence positive social change. So you're going to give me some time, maybe an hour or a little more or less, and I'm going to be convincing you how brand communities can take advantage of art initiatives to become a catalyst for positive social change. So let us go. A little introduction once again. I am an author of 15 books. My latest book is currently being pre-ordered. It's called Marketing Without a Budget, and it's all about communities. I love to work with founders and board members and C-suite organizations. So just in case you're interested in carrying on this conversation, of course, you can check me out on LinkedIn, and I will be very happy to help you, especially in your MBA program. I can provide one or two tips that can give you some form of acceleration. So thank you for having me once again, and let's go. My outline today is as follows. I would like to talk about art philosophy. I would like to talk about the concept of community as a business model. I would like to talk about who is impacted or affected by the community approach to business. I would like to talk about how art influences the people who buy in businesses. Businesses are all about customers, about buyers. And I would like to talk about how art can influence that behavior from buyers and community. Then I'll give you some tips on implementation strategies. I want to assume that some of the MBA students here will be consultants to brands and businesses, and I believe that you're going to be able to influence the way they do business. So I'd like to give you some strategic tips that can help you help your clients wherever they are all over the world. So for a sake of activity, let's do something. If you can hear me and you understand my accent and you understand what I'm saying, I'd like you to type number 1 in the chat room, like I just did. I'd like you to type 1 in the chat room. Let me see the volumes of ones I'm going to have. I'm expecting a rain of ones. Fantastic. Awesome. 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 Beautiful. Great. So quickly, let me do another question I want to ask you. I'm going to ask you to give me options. If you're going to be listening to me just for out of interest, but you don't have an immediate source of implementing what we're talking about, you're just listening just out of interest, you will type A. If you're listening and you're going to use this in your thesis or for academic purposes, type B. If you're going to listen to me and you already have clients with which you want to test this idea, you will type C. So A, B, or C. I want to size the room. The first is I'm just listening. I just want to hear about this idea. The second is I'm listening. I'm going to use this to test my thesis or dissertation. Or C, I want to listen and test this for a client or for a life business. So A, B, or C. I want to quickly see where you are. A, B, or C. Okay. I see many C's are coming in. I like that. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Perfect, 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 perfect. Nice. Okay, one last question. It is not part of the conversation, but I'll ask that question. If you have been to Nigeria before, type, send me a fist bump. If you have not been to Nigeria before, send me a hug. If you have been to Nigeria before, send a fist bump. If you have not been to Nigeria before, send me a hug. And if you want to come to Nigeria, send me a love emoji. If you want to come to Nigeria, send me a love emoji. Let's see how many people want to visit Nigeria. Nice. Wow, nice, nice. Good to see. Hopefully, I will welcome some of you to Nigeria and probably take you across Africa someday very soon. We can see how far that will go. Thank you for responding to my questions. Now, let me go straight into the talk for today. So my first module is the art of the philosophy of art, or the art philosophy. Here, a statement I found on the internet said, art is an opportunity for companies to help clients, visitors, and employees get to know and get a feel for who the organization is. Art in the workplace encourages and promotes social interactions. It stimulates emotional responses and fosters personal relationships. Art is a great way to create connection between a business and individuals that interact with the businesses. Let me quickly ask one question. It's a true or false question. A business is a living entity. True or false? A business is a living entity. True or false? A business is a living entity. True or false? Fantastic. Great. So if it is true, my next question I would like to ask you is as follows. A business thrives on relationships between itself and the people that come to it. True or false? A business thrives on relationships. Pardon my spelling error there. Relationships. Relationships. Sorry? Are you speaking to me? Okay. A business thrives on relationships between itself and entities, individuals that interact with the business. True. Fantastic. So if that is true, then art is a vehicle that facilitates that relationship. Art is a vehicle that facilitates that relationship. But what is art? What exactly does art mean? I took time to ask, because I don't want it to be theoretical. I typed out on the internet types of art. What does art really mean? And I found a wholesome types of art. And some we're familiar with, some we're not familiar with. Art constitutes conceptual art that has to do with abstract definition and representation of art. We have pop art, which is represented in some form of musical expression. We have contemporary art, we have drawings, we have music. So these are the varying spectrum of art. And many times we go to business environments and we see visual art, we hear musical art, we see art represented in some form of illustrations and paintings. Those are the normal things we see in art and business. Sometimes we see photography, sometimes we see fine art, sometimes we are hosted by businesses to some form of cocktail or events, and these are all forms of art. So if that is so, I came to the conclusion, and I want you to take home these 2 points. Art in business should achieve 2 broad purposes. Art in business should achieve 2 broad purposes. In the implementation of art in business, the first thing that should happen is that that activity should attract goodwill from potential contact of the brand. The goal of art in business should first achieve goodwill. There should be something about that activity that should make people love your brand. There should be something about art that you implement in business that should make people have soft spot for your brand. There should be something about your art, the activities you adopt for art, that should make people love your brand and be attracted to your brand. That's the first goal. The second goal of art in business is to provide a channel of expression for every contact of your brand. So what this means is we're not just projecting art to you, we're getting you involved in our art activities. 2 things. 1, goodwill. 2, expression, relationship, activity, getting you involved in our brand. I'm going to give you a few step studies in the course of the presentation, and you will get it a little better. So I have a co-facilitator, I guess. Okay, fantastic. So I want you to quickly type for me these 2 statements. What are the 2 cardinal purposes of art in business? Who is the fastest finger to type the 2 statements for me? I want to see that. Maybe I can send an international gift to that person. Who knows? The fastest finger. The 2 purposes of art are what? As you can see on the screen. I want somebody to type it. Rikiat is the first person, okay? I want to see who is the fastest finger to type the complete statement. Yes, the 2 broad purposes of art, expression of relationship and connection. That's the second purpose, okay? What was the first purpose? Who is the fastest finger to give me the 2 statements complete? Anyone? I'm waiting. I'll count down from 5, then I'll move on. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to come back to this same statement at the end of my presentation. But I want you to remember this. As an MBA candidate, as a consultant, as a management team player, as an executive C-suite manager, you need to understand art should achieve 2 broad purposes. 1, it should attract goodwill from the people that encounter your brand, and it should give a place, a platform of expression to people that engage your brand. So, the Centric art expression, and I want to talk about community. What's the concept of brand community? And how does it revolve around the philosophy of art? The concept of community is defined as a collection of people who love your brand and who interact with your brand. The concept of community revolves around a subscriber. A subscriber is defined as someone who is attracted to your brand with an intention to buy from your brand. A subscriber is defined as someone who is attracted to your brand with an intention to buy from your brand. A subscriber is defined as someone through whom other people can buy from your brand. That's the base unit. That's the lowest unit of brand community. A brand community is broken down to the point where someone in your ecosystem is either buying from your brand or is facilitating other people buying from your brand. And that is the essence of business. Now, from the context of community, when people are attracted to your brand, what makes them stay with your brand is engagements and experiences that you create. For you to be able to keep people attracted to your brand and loving your brand, there has to be constant engagements. There has to be constant experiences. There has to be something about your interactions with them that keeps them coming to you and staying with you. And this is very critical. What are the kinds of engagements and experiences a brand should create with their subscribers? It could be surveys. How many of you have received any recent survey from maybe Google or Apple or Meta or any of the global brands? Yes, thank you, Akash. Feedback forms is a good way of engagement. Yes, so let me do this. Someone just sent me a private answer and I love that. So let me make it open. I'd like you to give me options and suggestions. How can a brand engage and create experiences with their subscribers? Let's make it an open conversation. Who wants to share in the chat room? Let me read some options. I already have one in a private message, feedback forms. Who else wants to tell me something? Let's go. Let's keep it coming. I hope I can catch up with the speed of messages when they start pouring in. How can we create experiences and engagement? So how do we create experiences and engagements with subscribers of our brand? I'd like you to give me options that you think. Anyone? Let's go. What would you do to create engagements and create experiences with subscribers of your brand? Okay, someone says no idea. Good. Reviews, okay. Who else? What would you do to engage people that are drawn to your brand? Anything? Okay, I'll count down from 3, then I'll continue. So Atinuke says build a community, tasters, get them involved. So partnerships, okay. Interesting. So let me help you. Surveys are a good way to engage your brand and create experiences for them. Social media content is a way to engage your brand and create experiences with them. Yes, Sriya says storytelling and consistent content. Thank you. Beautiful answer there. Purchasing patterns. Understanding purchasing patterns is a good way to engage and have an experience with your brand subscribers. Let me ask you, how many of you here have bought something from Amazon recently or at any time? Just say yes. If you bought anything from Amazon at any given time, just say yes. If you bought anything from Amazon at any given time, fantastic, great. Now, if you have bought from Amazon, I want you to confirm did you notice Amazon will say, people who bought what you bought also bought this. If you saw that, say 2 years. If you didn't notice that, say no. Amazon will say, people who bought what you bought also bought this item. That is customer engagement. That is customer experience collection. That is how to keep your community engaged. Constantly helping them see what other people are doing so that it helps to inform their choices and their interactions. Other ways of also engaging and creating experiences with your subscribers is feedback mechanism and friendship models. And these are very beautiful things that brands do. Now, when you create these engagements, the next very thing that other organizations do is to now start providing experiences in the areas of the engagements and the areas of the feedback they have received from their customers. And this is how this always works. So that's the concept of community. So if you're listening to me now, I want you to bear in mind, there is a set of people that are attracted to your business with the intention to buy. And through them, other people will likely buy. But it depends on your level of interactions and engagements with them to create an experience that attracts other people to buy. And this is very, very key for you to understand in this strategy of developing art-centric, philosophies around your business. So we have talked about art. We have talked about forms of art. We have talked about the concept of community. I'm going to scroll back 2 slides just to take us back for a moment. We talked about art as an opportunity for companies to help clients, visitors, and employees to know the brand. And we said the brand is a living entity that thrives on relationships with other people that engage the brand. This is true. The next thing we talked about was the different forms of art. How can art be experienced? And here we said it can be experienced in these diverse forms, as music, as drawing, as photography, as painting, as performance art, and all these kinds of expressions. The next thing we talked about was the 2 broad purposes of art, which has to do, 1, attracting goodwill from everybody that contacts the brand, and secondly, providing a platform for those who experience the brand to play around with the brand. These are 2 broad purposes. Then we talked about the concept of community. How does community really work? From this diagram, we said subscribers are the primary contact of the business, and we have to keep them engaged and create experiences with them, upon which we can now start serving them with different forms of art based on the different forms of art I had expressed on the earlier slide. So our next slide is going to say this. And this is my personal postulation. Understanding the individual entities in a community and how their identity determines the kind of engagements to design and the kind of experience to achieve can go a long way to help brands design an effective art strategy. I'll take it 1 second time. How you understand the people in your community and how you design the experiences and engagements can go a long way to determine what kind of art should we introduce to engage our people more so that we can achieve the 2 broad purposes of art. And what are the 2 broad purposes of art? 1, to increase goodwill of the brand. 2, to give these people a room to experience us, to give these people a room to feel that they are part of our lives. And that is a powerful way to build a strategy around this. So if that is true, let's talk about how do you dimension the people in your community? What are how do you create that identity dissection so that you can create experience? Gentlemen, every subscriber in a community has a gender they associate with. Every subscriber identifies with a gender, has a range and age context definition. Every subscriber has a personality type. Every subscriber has interests that they are drawn to. Every subscriber has a career or vocational definition and spectrum. And there are different classifications you can also capture with respect to your subscribers. What this tells you is that as a brand, you cannot determine an art expression just for the face value. A brand will not just say, we just want to do art by dancing. We're creating a dance competition and all age brackets and all gender and all ethnicity and all religious faiths should apply and participate. You're going to be sidelining some kind of people because the music that appeals to the Gen Z may not appeal to the baby boomers, may not appeal to the millennials. Some kind of art may not appeal to some kind of personalities. Some kind of art may not appeal to some kind of beliefs. So it is first your responsibility to dissect your subscribers based on clusters of contexts like beliefs, faith, gender, age, personality, interest, availability, as many variants as possible. You create systems that helps you filter people's interests and classifications that can help you define the forms of art that they can play around with. When you execute this flow, Then you are having the implementation of art according to the community-centric models. This is the framework that successfully implements art in a community-centric model. Let me pause for a moment. If you can hear me, and if we are on the same page, send me your favorite emoji for a moment before I continue. Fantastic. Let's keep it coming. If we're on the same page, send me your favorite emoji. I'd like to read from you. Let me take a moment to be sure we are together on the same page. Okay, I'm waiting for more emojis. Nice, awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. Interesting emojis. I don't want normal. I want abnormal. Send me abnormal emojis. Anything. Or you could just type something. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. So, if you think I should go to my next slide, I want you to give me, tell me, let's go. If you want me to go to the next slide, just type move. Type move, and I'll go to my next slide. Move, yes. Yes, yes. Awesome. I like that. Awesome. Good. I like the energy in the room. You guys are giving me ginger. There's a song in Nigeria. I don't know how well you guys know Nigerian songs. It was done by a guy called Olamide, and he says, give me ginger. If you ginger, ginger. So let me not scatter the room, but it's a nice song. You just may like it. But I like the ginger you're giving me in the room. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide talks about how to now dimension the subscribers in your community. A subscriber, let me take that definition again, is someone who is attracted to your brand and has a potential to buy from your brand, and also has the potential of attracting people to your brand. Don't forget and lose sight of that definition. If this is so, we already said a subscriber has contexts upon which you can design your art philosophies. What are the contexts of these subscribers? Based on what I have on the screen, which is a very basic and generic definition, we have a male figure, a female figure, and we have the youth figure. This is just a very simple simulation. The male figure has the following relationships that he or she does not choose to be, but is automatically as a person. That male figure is a man. That male figure is a father. It can be by association, or it can be by identification. It can be by biological anatomy. This figure is a brother. This figure is probably a worker. This figure is probably an entrepreneur. This figure is probably a husband or a friend, etc. The same for the female. She's a woman, a mother, a sister, a worker, an entrepreneur, a wife, a friend, etc. For the young people, can be a brother, a sister, a cluster, a founder, a friend, etc. Each of these definitions, if you match them in this context that we've defined about age, personality, interest, vocation, career, ethnicity, tribe, religious faith, etc., it will help you know how vast the forms of art that can apply in any business. And the entire goal of this is two broad purposes. I will keep revisiting those two broad purposes. The two broad purposes that art must achieve is, one, goodwill for the brand. Your people should say, I like this business. They are constantly making us come around. They are giving me some form of good feeling. I'm able to feel good about them. They allow me just express myself, which is the second purpose. The second purpose is form of expression, platform of expression, activity, getting involved with the brand. These two purposes are the real sum total. Now, the real impact of art in business using brand communities as a model is seen in how the significant daily experiences of the subscriber is improved. According to the Wheel of Life, there are core areas that customers and their loved ones need to build and protect for their overall well-being. This means when a brand executes art via these areas as vehicles, the long-term benefit is unprecedented. Now, what are these areas that brands can execute their art? This is called the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life is a tool in coaching that brands can use to amplify the well-being of their subscribers. And I have a question on the screen. I want someone to help me type this question in the chat room, the fastest finger. How do we design our community-centric art initiatives to help our prospects and customers improve their daily experiences in these areas of their lives? And what are the areas? How can art improve growth? How can art improve wealth? How can art improve health? How can art improve relationships? How can art improve your relationship with your life partner? How can art improve your relationship with yourself? How can art improve your connection for spirituality? How can art improve your contribution to community? These broad themes are vehicles and spectrum through which you can execute art as a brand. And it must be tailored to the individual subset of the people in your communities, based on their age, based on their gender, based on their ethnicity, based on their interests, based on their faith, based on their different varying attributes. When these contexts are managed, you will see that it becomes a catalyst for positive social change. Because don't forget, art has two broad purposes for businesses. One, it should improve goodwill for your brand, and it should serve as a platform of expression for the people that engage your brand. And the way it can serve as goodwill vehicle and form of expression is when the subscriber begins to see a direct improvement of their lives from the expression of art that they have with the brand. This is very key for us to take note of. So let me give some live case studies. How many of you ever looked for your name on Coca-Cola bottles? If you ever looked for your name on Coca-Cola bottles when Coca-Cola was doing What's Your Name campaign, I want you to tell me yes. If you were born and alive when Coca-Cola did What's Your Name campaign and you were looking for your name, tell me yes. If you don't know what we're talking about, say, I don't know. Let me pause here for a moment. If you looked for your name during the campaign, let me know. If you don't have an idea what we're talking about, right? I don't know. I want to be sure how many people even know this campaign happened at some point in the last 10 years. I want more responses. Do you know about the Coca-Cola What's Your Name campaign? Did you ever come across it at any time? Yes? Okay, beautiful. I want more answers. I want more answers. I'm waiting for other responses. I'm waiting for other responses. Anyone? So I'll count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, there was a time Coca-Cola decided to create an art-driven campaign for marketing. And all they did was, guess what, guys? We're going to be producing Coca-Cola in your name. Look for your name and drink to it and just pop. They'll tell you, happy, make yourself happy. They call it happy times. And then they'll ask you to take a selfie, and they'll ask you to put it on the social media with a hashtag, what's your name? That was doing 2 things. The first thing was creating goodwill for Coca-Cola. The second thing was creating a platform of expression for those that drink Coca-Cola. Guess what? Many people did not drink Coca-Cola, but they were looking for their names. That definitely took off the brand equity for Coca-Cola and also gave them great mileage and visibility. That is one case I'd like you to take note of. Second, according to the New Yorker, there was an activity called paint and sip. If you've ever attended a paint and sip event at your location anywhere in the world, I want you to type yes in the chat room. If you've ever attended paint and sip event, please type yes. Please type yes. If you've attended a paint and sip event, please type yes. The paint and sip event is a good therapeutic strategy that brands also use that gets people to know the brand, that gets people to meet new people, and gets people to participate in the experience. That is such a beautiful catalyst for positive change. And I will show you another brand that does that effortlessly. There is a brand in the United States called Ben and Jerry's. They are an ice cream company. And what they did was they were concerned about climate change. They were concerned about racial equality. They were concerned about social justice. And they decided to create a campaign called Pecan Resist. And what that meant was they were trying to use their community-based initiative to continue to communicate and, advocate for racial equality, for social justice, and climate change. That is a direct impact of art initiatives that can become catalysts for social change. Another example, my last example for today, is Nike. Nike decided to promote HIV/AIDS awareness, racial equality, and even the rights of sexual orientation using their campaign called Be True Collection. So they created a collection. A collection in fashion terms is a set of designs for a specific purpose. That's what a collection is called. Nike, the global brand for sports, created a collection for awareness on social issues, including HIV and AIDS and racial equality, and also sexual orientation rights. These are top-notch examples that you can take home and implement. So, talking about implementation, how can this system be implemented? Before I talk about the implementation, I want to be sure that I have not been rambling alone. I want to be sure you picked 1 or 2 things from all I've said so far. So I'm going to ask any 5 random people to tell me what is one thing you have learned so far from my presentation. Any 5 random people, tell me what you have taken so far from my presentation before I go to the next, as I wind down my talk. So may I know from you, what have I said so far that resonated with you? I'm interested in knowing that. Anyone? Random 5 people. Let me hear from you. I wish I could hear the voice of James Stoner. I like your face. If you are speaking, you are mute. So any random 5 people who want to tell me what you've taken away so far from my talk? I'm still waiting.
But I didn't realize I was muted. So my random comment is that I really like what you're doing, and it fits very well with what we're doing in this whole program. And I'm looking forward to looking at the video and catching what I missed because I came in late. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you say and seeing what you say in the next few minutes or so. So thanks so much for being here. It really fits well with what we're doing. And thank you.
Thank you, James. I like that. Thank you for that feedback. So guys, I want 4 more people. Tell me what you've taken so far before I begin to round up. I'd like to hear, what do you think has been said? We've talked about art. We've talked about concept of community. We've talked about forms of art. We've talked about the people in communities. We've talked about the different characteristics and attributes of people in community. Then we've talked about how to marry these two. And then we've talked about case studies on that. So I have a few entries. Akash says, importance of branding and the way communities market, you know, and the way companies' ways of marketing. I need to give Akash a gift. I need to find a way to give you a gift because you've been very active.
917-3622200.
Okay, so thank you, Akash, for your contribution. I can take 3 more contributions from anyone, random contributions. I'm interested in knowing. Anyone else wants to share something? Before I go to the last part is the implementation part of this work. How do you implement? So, any other persons who want to tell me what they've taken so far from this topic? So I'll count down from 5. In the absence of that, I'll move to my last slide. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I move 1. Now, to implement these strategies, okay, I have one. Dosumu says, paying attention to every detail of activities for engagement with my community. There's always an opportunity to create deeper experiences. This is very true. Thank you for that, Dosumu. This is coming very handy. So let me go to the implementation. How do you implement all I've been saying? What's the way to implement all I've been saying? There are 3 broad ways. In terms of direct implementation, there are more things to do, but there are 3 broad ways. The first broad way is there has to be an intentional profiling of your prospects. There has to be intentional profiling. Now, there are 3 levels of people in your community. You have the prospects, those that are hovering around. There are the leads, those that have interacted but have not paid anything. And then there are the buyers. And don't forget, I told you earlier, a subscriber is defined as anyone who is drawn to your brand with the intention of buying. They are already community subscribers. And guess what? They may not buy, but when they talk about your brand, other people will buy. And I told you the example of Coca-Cola. Not many people drink Coca-Cola. In fact, many people are Pepsi addicts than Coca-Cola addicts. But when Coca-Cola did Find What's Your Name campaign, Pepsi addicts were looking for their names in Coca-Cola, even though they would not drink the content. That is how this really, really works. You can always draw people to your brand by your activities. Every contact with your brand is a potential lifetime buyer. But this is only guaranteed via a relationship-driven model. And that's why at the beginning I said, every business is a living entity and thrives on relationships. And once you understand that, you understand why art has to drive that relationship, because art has two broad purposes. One broad purpose is goodwill to your brand. The second broad purpose is that people have a platform to express themselves on your brand. The second broad way to implement this idea is to design a system that engages identities in your system. And when I say IDs, according to my screen here, it talks about the ID of the subscriber, the characteristics of the subscriber. We have explained characteristics of subscriber when I talked about gender, ethnicity, tribe, faith, sexuality, interest, vocations, careers, etc. There has to be a way in your system where you're able to engage and find out the wants of these people, their needs, their gaps, their dreams, their goals, their aspirations. For example, Nike did something recently with a woman that had gone through, she conceived, got pregnant, and had a crisis in pregnancy. And I think there were some changes to her body anatomy because of the complications from that birth. And Nike decided to do a campaign around body shaming and body acceptance because of that identity of one of their artists or one of their sports people. That is leveraging a subscriber identity and experience to create a form of art that can get what? Goodwill of the brand to grow, and secondly, place of expression for the people that engage the brand. So this is the second broad way to implement this. The third broad way to implement this is creating a system where contacts with your system can express themselves through forms of art. Provide a platform and let the subscribers drive the flow and execution. When we talked about the Find Your Name by Coca-Cola, it went viral because everyone that found their name decided to do something. Coca-Cola did not specifically define how people should express themselves. They just created a platform. When a brand does sip and paint, they create a platform. You come and do what you want to do based on your extent of creativity. A brand can create a dance competition, and we do that a lot in Nigeria. I think that is sponsored by Pepsi, where they do, there's a name they call it now, I can't remember the name, where people come and audition to sing, and they come and the judges just determine who sings the list, and then there's a final winner. That is art, where people, hundreds of thousands of people would apply Pop Idol. Thank you. You see, so when you have America Got Talent, so Got Talent, when you have Big Brother House, these are forms of art that arrive at two broad purposes. One, goodwill for the brand. Two, a platform of expression for the people that contact the brand. So the brand just creates the platform. However, the users leverage the platform is let open. That gives a great dimension of advertising and PR to the brand. It goes so far, farther than how much a brand may have paid for an advertising company to take their brand to an extent. These two broad purposes are very key for brands to look at. So as I round up, I want to reinforce the two broad purposes why businesses should employ community-centric art as a philosophy. Number one broad purpose, it is intended to attract goodwill from every potential contact of the brand. The second broad purpose is to provide a channel of expression for every contact of the brand to play around. And the goodwill pays off, the return on investment pays off, the top of mind presence pays off, and the increase in customer subscribers and customer traffic pays off. And guess what? the financial return on investment would definitely pay off, because there is a lifetime benefit of accruing revenue that can come from the jump in brand presence and brand equity. In closing, thank you for having me speak to your MBA students, Woxsen University. I do not take this for granted. I like the conversation that has happened. And now I'm open to questions around the topic. So please, you may ask me any question, and I hope I can attend to that before the time runs out. Thank you very much. So I'm open to questions now.
Yeah, I have a question.
Awesome.
I apologize for being late. I didn't have the URL until the last moment, and you'd already started. So I'm looking forward to, this is Jim Stoner. I'm looking forward to the video of the session part that I missed. I really like this art in business and marketing approach, and I will look up the New Yorker article and that you mentioned. If you were asked to lead a session for folks at Woxsen, if that happened, I can't ask you for that right now, but if that happened, would you be willing to help us do a session along the lines of the SIP and art for what Woxsen is doing as it creates its new curriculum and its new program? Would you be willing to help us out on that?
So thank you, James, for your question. Directly to answer you, yes. But rather than limiting it to sip and paint, I would like to brainstorm with you for us to identify the attributes of the participants or the audience that you want to reach. And then using those attributes, just like my presentation showed, we will use those attributes to create a very impactful art form so that we are able to maximize the purpose for your plan. Because if you limit it,
they will check this all presentations of all schools.
So thank you so much. If I contact you,
beginning.
Thank you. If I contact you, I don't know if Woxsen wants to do this, but I think they might, and I think that the group I'm with, Global Management Initiative, might also want to do that. And I'd very much like my colleague, Linda Irwin, who's a real pro at marketing, have a chance to see what you've done. So I will, if it's okay with you, I will follow up with you and have some conversation with you about what might be possible.
I'm here to serve you, James. It's my job to serve you. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to your content.
I will also find your book wherever it is. I'll find your book and get it.
Don't worry.
Is it on Amazon?
This book will be released on January. The book will be released January 5th of 2024. I'll be very happy to send you a complimentary copy. If you contact me, I'll get your details. I'll send you a complimentary copy, and because it is going to do good for you. Don't worry.
Wonderful. So it'll be out in February, in January, February?
January, it will be out, yes.
Wonderful. That's so great. Thanks so much. I'll stay in touch with you if that's all right.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Over to you, admin. Yes.
Good evening, Professor Sam. It was a wonderful session that we had, and especially the way you have taken through the examples, the way you presented, interacted with the students. It's wonderful. Like, I can say why I'm saying this, because in every seminar we see students joining in, but by the time it gets off, the students we reach to 100, less than 100. But today we are into 80s, but still students are having an interaction session with you in chat session. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for making it so interesting and interactive.
Thank you very much.
And we will take some queries from students. Students, please don't feel shy. Open up through chat box, or you can directly speak with Professor Sam.
Thank you very much. I'm open to questions and feedback and comments. And in case you're a student and you have a client that requires this strategy, I'm very open to advising you on how to help your clients and support businesses you support. it will go a long way. Yeah, James, your hand is raised. You want to speak? Please unmute yourself.
We have questions
Good
in the
idea.
chat.
Good idea. While we're waiting for students to come up with their own questions and comments, again, I apologize, I came in late. Did you tell us anything about your background in terms of how you got into this work that appears in Marketing Without a Budget, and anything about the colleagues you worked with? That's always fun to learn about.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm coming to that. Let me answer a question in the chat room. Someone says, how do we begin to identify how to build all of these with our clients? Good question. Let me quickly scroll back to a particular slide that can help you. This slide. Here, for every contact with your brand, you are taking note of who the contact is. You are engaging. You can see the kinds of engagements that are recommended include surveys, include social media content, includes studying their purchasing patterns. What are the things they are drawn to? What are the things they are not drawn to? It includes feedback mechanism. It includes friendship models, like rewarding people, giving them room to meet you. And these are just systems that you use to keep people within the loop and within the system, and they begin to enjoy your presence. That way, when you're collecting information from them, it's giving you ideas, the areas that you can get them more involved with your brand. So when you get people asking you questions around, they would like to meet with you, they love to study what you do, they like the way you say things, it's giving you an idea, the kind of interactions they love to have with you. Now, let me say something very instructive. Every customer feedback is a sample of a larger size or a larger cluster of customers. Every time a customer tells you something, or anytime a subscriber tells you something about how they experience you, they are a sample of a size of customers that experience you the same way. So once you put out feedback as a strategy, those people that resonate the same way will be attracted to you for that purpose. And that way you're able to create different clusters of art forms that bring the similar people together, people who think alike, people who act alike, people who are drawn to similar things, are drawn to that initiative. And you just realize that you're evolving and becomes a movement. So that's how to get to know the people and use them for that purpose. Now back to James's question. Why am I drawn to this topic? So I have been a full-time business person for 12 years now in Nigeria, and I've served clients across Africa and some parts of Europe and Middle East. And one thing I have noticed is that people can like your brand, but may not patronize your brand. And that became a concern for me. As a consultant to many businesses, I figured that many businesses spend a lot of money in marketing, but do not have that direct sustainable translation in terms of return on that investment. And I found it's because we are particular about advertising, we are particular about building strong brand names, but we don't have a science that says, do the people that love this brand really buy this brand? I gave an example of the Coca-Cola Find Your Name, or What's Your Name? People loved that campaign, but that does not mean they drink Coke. Many people like an iPhone, but that does not mean they own an iPhone. And so that was what led me into community-based conversations. I found when brands begin to engage people that like their brand, they move them from liking the brand to buying the brand. And also move them from just buying the brand to getting people like them to buy from the brand. So engagements and experiences have a longer term and a longer sustainability potential of keeping people in the system and getting these same people to bring in new people into the system. And in the long run, you have loyal, addicted buyers who are willingly advocating for your brand. And that's why I said you don't need a budget, because in the long run, whatever you were spending on marketing and PR and advertising is utilized within the community where you're increasing engagement and experiences, and the buyers become advocates on your behalf. So you're not directly spending marketing expenses anymore. You're keeping your community happy, and they're doing the marketing for you. In fact, my direct science in my book says companies must invest 25% of their budget on traditional marketing and invest 75% of that budget on keeping the community happy. Once you do that, I call it the 25-75 model. If you do that, in 10 years, you're likely to be spending zero on marketing. You just be keeping your community happy and you're game. I hope that answers your question, James.
Students, do
Sorry,
you have any queries?
sorry, I keep unmuted. Yes, you did answer my question very well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, James. Fantastic. I'm waiting for the rest of our students. I'd love to really meet you guys and hear from you, take your question, have your feedback. Guys, talk to me. Don't be shy.
Students, you have any queries, please drop in. I guess the students are having the Professor Sam, I guess students are having the lot of excitement. Till now, we are 280. That means you can understand how interesting and like knowledgeable the knowledge that you have shared, the way you have presented it. It was really, really amazing. Thank you so much. We are so grateful and we convey our gratitude because you have taken up time and just given us such a wonderful presentation,
Thank you.
interactive. The students have participated. That's more important. That makes me more happy that students have participated. They have put down their queries in between and they have replied
Thank
you.
you. Thank
So,
you. That's
Professor Sam,
that's why
we will look forward for more interactive session with you because we have different schools, as
yeah.
Professor James Stoner said. So we will look into you. We will take forward with different activities that we have, and
No
hope that you
problem.
can give us spare some times for our students so that they can learn. And
Don't worry, I'm the octopus. I'll find a way around that. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. It was really, really amazing to meet you, and hopefully in future we can meet it physically as well. Thank you. Do take
Namaste.
care of yourself. Namaste, and thank you so much. And we will see you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day. God bless everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.